Samuel Ward had always cherished the quiet stretch of Montana shoreline that came with his cabin. After 25 years engineering dams across the West, calculating pressures and flows that could humble mountains, he'd bought this slice of peace 8 years ago. It was his refuge. No neighbors too close, no noise but the lap of Hungry Horse Reservoir against the rocks. But on that crisp autumn morning, after 2 grueling weeks on a contract job at the dam, something shattered that serenity. The gravel crunched under his truck tires as he rounded the final bend. Through the pines, the lake glinted like polished silver, but a strange shape sliced across the water, a long wooden dock jutting 30 feet from his private bank. It wasn't there when he'd left. Fresh lumber gleamed, bolts shiny and new. Samuel blinked, thinking fatigue from 12-hour shifts had tricked his eyes. But no, it was real. His old blue heeler, Buddy, whined from the passenger's seat, sensing the wrongness. He parked, stepped out into the sharp pine-scented air, and walked down to the water. The dock was solid, built with care, but without permission. Footprints, work boots, trailed from the road straight onto his land. Anger simmered, but Samuel kept it leashed. He learned patience on job sites where one wrong move could flood valleys. A voice cut the air like a whip. "Back already?" Barbara Harlan stood at the hill's crest, clipboard in hand, her short auburn hair perfectly coiffed, her fleece vest zipped tight. At 55, she ruled Willow Creek HOA like a small-town queen, her smiles thin and her threats veiled. "Barbara," Samuel said evenly. She descended, heels clicking on gravel. "Isn't it lovely? The board approved a community dock. Your spot was perfect for it." "This is my land," he replied. "Private shoreline." She waved dismissively. "Community needs come first. You weren't here, we proceeded." He stared at her, the lake mocking the absurdity with its calm ripples. Why his property? Why the rush? Questions gnawed, but he didn't press. Not yet. Turning away, he felt her eyes boring into his back. This wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. By dawn, 3 orange envelopes fluttered on his porch rail like venomous flags. Buddy barked at them. Samuel ripped one open. Violation for obstructing community assets. Another for unsafe conditions. The third? Aggressive behavior toward HOA staff. He hadn't raised his voice to Barbara. Her signature looped dramatically at the bottom. A white SUV crept by, a man inside, snapping photos of his cabin, his truck, him. Willow Creek Compliance Patrol, the decal read. The driver noted something and drove off, dust trailing like a bad omen. Inside, Samuel spread his deed, plat maps, and water rights documents on the pine table. His finger traced the boundary, 10 feet into the lake, all his. This was strategy, not error. Wind rattled the panes, carrying winter's chill. A soft knock. Buddy perked up. Mrs. Fletcher, the widow down the road, clutched her shawl. "Samuel, Barbara is saying you threatened her. Called you a danger." "I didn't." "I know, but she's stirring trouble." She handed a memo. Community alert about his concerning behavior. Samuel thanked her, watching her hurry away. The cabin felt besieged. He grabbed his coat, documents, and headed to the county office, Buddy in tow. Neighbors' curtains twitched as he passed. At the zoning desk, a woman with a neat ponytail glanced up. "Unauthorized dock on my shoreline," he explained, laying out maps. She checked records. "No permits. Nothing. This is trespassing, and possibly environmental if it disturbed the watershed." By noon, he had stamped reports, a file number, and a promise of review. Snow clouds loomed. Back home, the dock mocked him from the water. Enough. He fetched tools from his shed, drill, crowbar, gloves. Buddy trotted along as Samuel began dismantling. Bolts squeaked free, planks stacked neatly. Eyes watched from windows, but he focused. "What are you doing?" Barbara stormed down, face flushed. "Removing trespass from my land." "That's vandalism. HOA property." He pointed to fresh survey flags. "All on my side." She jabbed a finger. "We spent thousands. Return it or face fines, multiplied." He loaded a plank without reply. She threatened lawyers, called him ungrateful. 2 hours later, the dock was gone, materials salvaged on his trailer. But up the road, Barbara gestured wildly to someone in a parked car. Buddy growled. The fight was escalating. Morning brought a spotless SUV. A man in khakis photographed the trailer, then stuffed an orange paper in the mailbox. $500 fine for possessing HOA materials. The form looked official but amateur. Crooked logo, uneven margins. Samuel burned it in his fire pit, flames curling the edges to ash. He loaded evidence, deeds, footage of the build, and drove to the courthouse through flurries. Sarah Klein at zoning examined his files. No permits filed. This violates zoning and EPA rules, protected watershed. She opened a report, plugged in his USB. Reckless. Will notify enforcement. Permission granted for law involvement. Outside, neighbors lingered, stares heavy. A note under a stone, return materials. Apologize. Don't escalate. He filed it away. Barbara's tactics reeked of desperation. Frost etched the windows next on. Buddy paced, staring lakeside. Samuel stepped out to see a county truck idling. Sarah Klein, a surveyor with laser gear, and a deputy approached. Fast-tracked inspection, Sarah said. They staked boundaries, noted disturbed soil, leached chemicals from treated wood. Environmental disruption, Sarah murmured. The deputy asked about trespass charges. Let the investigation run first, Samuel replied. Neighbors watched from the road, faces uncertain. Sarah lingered. We've had HOA complaints before, petty stuff. But this? Patterns. Missing permits, mismatched payments. Could be embezzlement. The wind carried her words like a chill promise. Another note. Final warning. Stop causing trouble. Samuel added it to his binder. This was bigger than a dock. Quiet descended, tense as a held breath. But he stayed vigilant. Samuel organized evidence. Dates, photos, letters. A tow truck rumbled up, driver eyeing the trailer. Here for HOA materials. Samuel showed boundary photos. Touch it, it's theft. A quick call, and the truck left. Neighbors passed more often, glancing at stakes, binder. Word spread. Afternoon, his drone captured shoreline scars. Up the road, Barbara leaned into a dark sedan, pointing his way. Her look, calculating. Evening snow dusted the lawn. Samuel pored over his missing pieces list. Why am I sure? Who in the sedan? The rush? Silence gathered like a storm. It broke on the fourth day. 2 vehicles, state sedan, county SUV. Detective Ryan Foster and Auditor Lisa Grant stepped out. About the dock, Foster said. On the porch, Grant opened files. Your shoreline was reclassified as community reserve, forged. Used to justify $30,000 from reserves. Rerouted to Barbara's sister, Evelyn Harlan, Foster added. Unlicensed builder paid cash. Fraud. Conspiracy. Emails showed board knowledge. Samuel's land chosen for stability, his absence exploited. He provided statements, evidence. Barbara won't go quietly, Foster warned. As they left, exhaust plumed like a signal. The lake had become a witness. Evening knock. Hesitant, but he thumped his tail. Edward Langley, retired judge from down the road, offered local beer. You've rattled cages. He'd been questioned too. Barbara's treated this like her fiefdom. Folks too scared to fight. Another knock. Angry. Neighbors clustered, tense. Heard about officials. True. Forged maps? Fraud. Edward steadied them. On the porch, snow falling. Samuel explained. Forgeries, siphoned funds, environmental breaches. Murmurs. Raised dues, unfinished projects. A reckoning brewed. They drafted a petition. 28 signatures for an emergency meeting. Edward lingered. Be ready. Cornered, she lashes out. Let her, Samuel said. Next morning, lake glassy under ice. Vehicles approached. State Patrol, Sheriff. An operation. At Barbara's house, officers assembled. She burst out, disheveled. What is this? Arrest for fraud, falsification, misuse. She raged, cuffed, blaming Samuel. You orchestrated this. Other board members arrested. Obstruction, flight attempts. Neighbors emerged, lights flashing on ice. News van arrived, drone over the lake. Headline: HOA scandal in Willow Creek. Lisa Grant approached, governor briefed. HOA suspended. Audit pending. Claps rippled. Relief. Neighbors thanked Samuel. You saved us. Edward nodded. Justice lands hard. Quiet returned, freeing. Samuel stood lakeside, peace restored. Next day, clubhouse gathered. Smoke curled, chairs filled. Margaret stood. We've been bullied. Time to rebuild. Edward called vote. Board dissolved. Interim panel. Edward, Principal David Brooks, and, surprisingly, Samuel. You stood up, they said. He accepted, humbled. Meeting flowed. Audits, transparency. Samuel donated lumber to veterans' fishing program. Build it right. Back home, newspaper, more charges. Rod exposed. On the porch with Edward, coffee steaming, lake golden. Feels like home. Shoreline untouched, truth risen. If you've ever faced down injustice or power abuse in your own life, share your thoughts in the comments below, especially on themes of violence and unfairness. What's your stance? Voice your views. I'd love to hear them.